Arthur Shelby, the eldest of the Shelby brothers, appears at first glance to be the embodiment of the classic alpha male. He comes across as someone who demonstrates power primarily through physical dominance and brute strength. However, behind this aggressive facade lies a complex and deeply conflicted character, marked by internal struggles and unresolved traumas, making him one of the most profound and tragic characters in Peaky Blinders. Arthur is the perfect example of an alpha male. Unlike his brother, who gains power through intelligence and strategy, Arthur builds his power through physical dominance. He's assertive, a doer, and unafraid to use his fists anywhere, anytime, against anyone.
This place is under new management.
By order of the Peaky Blinders.
But this red side also has its downsides. Arthur is often controlled by his emotions, acting impulsively and tending to escalate situations through anger and violence. His aggressiveness and tendency to provoke or bully others repeatedly attract stress and conflict. Like many characters in Peaky Blinders, Arthur is profoundly shaped by his experiences as a veteran. The battleground not only hardened him physically, but also shattered his emotional stability. His aggressive behavior and violent outbursts are not just an expression of rage, but are deeply connected to his PTSD. The battlefield taught him to survive through violence, but back in civilian life, these same survival instincts become self-destructive tendencies. Despite his physical strength, Arthur is often intellectually overwhelmed and struggles to think beyond the present. While Thomas is always several steps ahead, Arthur lacks this foresight. He is unable to act independently or strategically and is easily controlled by others. Whenever it's Thomas, or later in the series his wife Linda, which only deepens his sense of dependence. However, Arthur is not just a brutal thug. Beneath this aggressive shell lies a loyal and deeply emotional person. He would do anything for his family, especially for Thomas, whom he supports almost blindly. But this loyalty is tied to a heavy trauma, the absence and manipulation by his father. Arthur, who is easily manipulated in his red and green sides, is emotionally exploited by his father, as we see in the first season. This leaves deep wounds in Arthur's psyche, reinforcing his belief that he is not good enough or unworthy of love. His father's abandonment left a deep void, fueling his need for approval and love from a father figure like Thomas. This father complex continues to trouble Arthur, making him feel forever unworthy of happiness. Another critical aspect of Arthur's personality is his fear of abandonment. This fear is not just a product of his father leaving, but also a result of the chaotic world he lives in. Arthur desperately attaches to his family because without them he feels lost. This fear makes him loyal to a fault, often leading him to commit horrific acts just to stay relevant and valued within the Shelby family. Arthur's lack of intelligence and naivety also make him an easy target to influence and manipulate, not just by his father but also by Thomas. Thomas literally keeps Arthur on a leash like a dog, controlling and leading him as though he were a child. Polly and John also often treat Arthur more like a younger sibling, even though he is the eldest brother. This points to Arthur's deep inner child traumas. He is emotionally a child in the body of an adult man. Arthur's complex relationship with Thomas adds another layer to his internal conflict. While he is physically more powerful, Arthur often feels overshadowed by Thomas' intellect and strategic genius. He admires Thomas, but also resents being reduced to nothing more than a tool for violence. Arthur's emotional need for approval and his dependence make him vulnerable to the manipulation of Thomas and other characters such as Alfie Solomon or Oswald Mosley. While Thomas' dark thoughts come from his isolation and over-intellectualization, his blue side, Arthur's dark thoughts stem from guilt and shame, his green side. He feels guilty for the harm he causes others and is plagued by remorse. We see this especially in season 2 when a woman tries to shoot him and Arthur passively lets it happen.
Your son was a boxer.
No! He was a boy who got into a ring with an animal.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? But if you're gonna use it, point that thing at my head. That's where the trouble is.
Do it!
This pattern happens again in season 5 when his own wife Linda attempts to shoot him and Arthur allows it. Throughout the series we see many examples of how Arthur's guilt consumes him and he turns to narcotics to temporarily suppress these feelings. His battle with narcotics and alcohol is more than just a means of escape. They are his way of coping with the overwhelming guilt, shame and pain that consumes him. His addiction also represents his internal conflict. While he tries to suppress his emotions with substances, they only amplify his self-hatred and internal chaos, pushing him deeper into the darkness. His wife Linda represents a brief glimmer of hope for Arthur. Through her, we see his longing for redemption and a normal life. However, Linda's attempts to save Arthur clash with his deep-rooted guilt and anger, leading to further tension. Despite his genuine love for her, Arthur's inability to escape his violent tendencies eventually drives her away, reinforcing this belief that he is unworthy of love or redemption. Despite his dominant red and green sides, Arthur also has a creative yellow side, a side that might have flourished under different circumstances. There are rare moments in the series where Arthur reflects on what could have been.
I've been a f***ing idiot. I haven't appreciated nothing. I used to be good at drawing. I should have done more with my life, John. Good things.
These creative impulses rarely surface as they are suppressed by the dark world Arthur lives in. In a different environment, without the violence and trauma, Arthur's green loyalty and yellow creative talents might have had more room to grow. But in the brutal world where the Shelbys operate, little of Arthur's potential remains. Instead, he is dominated by his anger, pain and guilt, and throughout the seasons he accepts his role as the family's mad dog, the one who does the dirty work and controls the underworld. Ultimately, Arthur Shelby is a deeply tragic figure. He suppresses his true self to meet his family's expectations, acting as their enforcer and thug. Yet beneath all the aggression and violence lies a wounded, insecure man desperately trying to find a place in a world that has consistently disappointed and betrayed him. His internal conflict, the contradictions in his personality and his suppressed creative talents make Arthur Shelby one of the most profound and tragic characters in Peaky Blinders. Did you find this video interesting? Are you curious to explore your own personality structure? Book a personalized analysis today. Click in the link in the description to schedule your introductory talk now.